Want to watch me optimize a homepage in real time? Hi, I'm Paige from the Impact Copywriter, and I help founders and marketers run higher converting campaigns by focusing specifically on their marketing messages, or as we copywriters call it, the copy. Today, I'm optimizing a homepage hero section for a meal delivery service. Come join me as I make copy optimization choices in real time. Here we are on the homepage. Now, the first thing I noticed just doing a brief scan, and actually without even scanning, is that there's very little information in the hero section. So they're doing some lead gen here. It sounds like with this try this, that there may be a special offer somewhere, but there's no information on what that could be. Just based on context clues, I understand that I'm going to get meals. We have some pictures of some meals to sort of reinforce that idea. But my problem with the homepage and the hero in the homepage, given that we're likely going to optimize for people who are just landing here for the first time, as in they've heard about Flex Pro meals somewhere and or they've seen something or an influencer recommend it on Instagram and they've come to the homepage, right? And so without any other information on what they might be optimizing the homepage for, my thought is you're probably optimizing for people who are hearing about you for the first time because, they need to hear more information than, for example, a repeat purchaser or someone who's got more knowledge about the brand and what it does. So, the biggest issue here is that, for one, I don't really know what these meals are designed to help me do. Are they designed for convenience? Maybe, right? It could be just for meal prep for busy people. But if you spend a little time going through the website here or through the homepage here, you'll see, okay, we have a lot of information on calories and the macro distribution. Then we also have a bunch of pictures of very fit people. I'm going to make an assumption here that these meals are designed for these sort of health goals and not even just eating healthier, right? This is based on the pictures anyway. Their target audience seems to be a more sophisticated fitness person who's interested in fitness or person who aspires to look like this, right? So one thing, it would be easy to say, well, let's focus on weight loss. That's what people care about. But in my experience with the fitness space, the more sophisticated that you get into fitness, the less you talk about losing weight, right? Because the more you spend learning about the science of transforming your physique and building muscle and losing fat, the less you talk about weight loss and the more you talk about cutting fat, reducing your body fat percentage, and then building muscle, getting shredded. So the language changes, right? People who are very much into fitness and what I would consider like a more sophisticated market when it comes to fitness, they don't talk about losing weight as much as they talk about cutting fat and building muscle. Based on the pictures, I would say a big part of our value proposition are meals that are designed to help you cut fat and build muscle. And there's probably a component of busyness here too, convenience. So the first thing I would want to do if we're optimizing for a visitor who's landing here for the first time, who might have heard about Flex Pro Meals somewhere online, somewhere on social media, and they're coming here to find out what's this all about, is to lead with a value proposition. So I'm going to turn on my editing tool here. We'll try to get this to work. So we might try something like, all right, here. So first iteration, the complete nutritional system that helps you cut fat and get shredded without spending a single moment in your kitchen. So we're kind of naming what this could be, a complete nutritional system. It does sound a bit more fancy, I guess. We're hitting on the two core things that, based on the pictures on this page, that I'm assuming without any more data, that's what the visitors, their ideal buyers, care about, is cutting fat and getting shredded or building muscle. And then I wanted to pull in something about the convenience as well. So without spending a single moment in your kitchen. Now, I don't necessarily love this, so I'm going to keep working on it because, of course, they're going to spend some time in their kitchen because they probably have to microwave these, right? So we want the idea of, well, what, in terms of convenience, what are we solving for? Okay, now our second iteration, I've cut out the complete nutritional system. The cut fat and get shredded feels like the most important element at this stage because they're in goal awareness, right? So of course they're coming here to figure out what this is all about, but based on just my general knowledge of this type of buyer is that they have goals, and now they're trying to figure out, well, how does this help me fit my goals? So cut fat and get shredded. I played around with the idea of this idea of perfectly balanced, like meals with perfectly balanced macros, because that is actually hard to do on your own without a lot of work. But then I've iterated on the sort of convenience, right? Without spending a single moment in your kitchen. That feels a little bit off, like a little bit off with what the convenience is for someone who's really into fitness. And so anyone who has ever meal prepped knows that they hate it, right? It takes forever. And you might do it once or twice a week, but it takes forever. And then you have to eat the same thing over and over again. So when you meal prep, usually you make one big batch, and then that makes like 7 meals or ever how many, so you'll be eating the same thing for the next several days, and that can get boring. Lots of people don't like to eat the same thing every day, and it just takes a long time. So there's this idea, and I'm liking this a lot better without a single moment of meal prep, because that is actually true. You get these in the mail, you pop them in the microwave, and done. All right, in this version, I took out the reference to like the macro balance meals. I just couldn't quite land on some language that I really liked about that. So that's something that we could pull in smaller bits of description copy, because there is something important around, for me at least, around this idea of the balance of macros, right? To have that perfect balance, and to get that in a way that's easy, because it's harder to do on your own. So I've cut that out altogether. It's clear they're going to be getting meals from the imagery here. And we can even add a little bit about the meals in the subhead. So I've kept the two main goals that people in the fitness space have is cut fat and build muscle. And I do really like this iteration on the convenience aspect around meal prep. So here we have a headline that we can use in our hero section for first-time visitors to help them understand quickly what the value proposition is for this meal delivery service. Now, I will add here that there's not a lot of differentiation because I don't know much about this company. I could put this headline on any meal delivery service that's like for the fitness space, and there are quite a few in this space. I could put it on any of those homepages and it would be true. So that tells me that we're not quite differentiated enough. So if I was working with this client on their homepage, on their messaging, we'd really want to dig into, well, what makes this company different? Are there some key differentiators or key USPs that we can pull in to the hero to help it stand out from other companies that are doing a similar thing? It could be around price. It could be around the types of foods. I have personally had these types of meals that tasted terrible. And so, there's a lot of different opportunities that we could have here for differentiating from other like fitness focused meal delivery services. So I would add that notice for further optimization is, how can we differentiate ourselves better? Now, one thing I noted earlier was the original headline here said something about try this today, which kind of made me think that maybe there's a special offer. We want to give people an incentive to actually do some action. We could have a special offer. So maybe they get a discount on their first box of meals or a specific box of meals. So if we had a special offer, like it looks that we might because we have a lead generation form here, we want to make sure that that's also very clear in our hero section. All right, I wanted to sharpen our call to action just a little bit with try Flex Pro today and get 50% off your first 10 meals. That's $4.99 for a perfectly macro balanced meal with free next day delivery. One thing I don't like reading it out loud is the fact that I've used meal twice, very close together. It sounds a bit repetitive. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to find any synonym for meal that worked, right? Because, in this space, we do say your first 10 meals, right? That's the language we use, in our boxes, how many meals per week, a meal box. And that's really just how we talk about it in everyday conversation. So I could potentially say that's $4.99 for a perfectly macro balanced dish, but I don't want to sacrifice my little hint of alliteration here. Macro meal, macro balanced meal does have a bit more of a nice ring to it than if I said a macro balanced dish. I could potentially say delicious dishes. That's $4.99 for a perfectly macro balanced delicious dish. It's a little bit of a mouthful, and dish does sound a little bit more like a restaurant or a menu item. So I'm going to go back with meal. We'll just keep it in mind if we get a better idea later. Okay, so what I was trying to do here is incorporate kind of a so what, right? So next day delivery means you get it tomorrow. So I was trying to highlight the quickness of how soon that they'll get their first 10 meals. It feels like it could be a little much. So I'm actually going to take it out for now. Okay, so for the form, I'm just going to add a comment that the phone number could cause a little bit of friction. So could we put that in a second step and get them to actually move forward to whatever the next step is? So we might leave the phone number in the actual checkout process, right? Because it's causing a lot of friction right here. Basically, I just want them to choose their meals. So I know we want to ask for the email address because they're using this as lead generation. And they may only want to ask for the email address. You can collect first name and last name during checkout. And unless you're doing a lot of personalized emails or SMS or, whatever you're using, well, for one, you don't really even need the last name because in a personalized email, you only use the first name. And then if you're not sending those personalized emails, for lead generation purposes anyway, you could consider getting rid of these form fields, and by reducing the number of form fields, you increase the odds that people actually submit the information. So if we just had an email address here, then I would hypothesize we would get more people moving forward. All right, so I can see I've triggered the form somehow and it doesn't like it. So let's just put in some test information to get rid of these boxes. Okay, I'm not going to submit it. I just want to get rid of my field required boxes. All right, so let's ignore the form for now. I've continued to iterate on our subhead just a little bit because I noticed the original, which led with try Flex Pro and get 50% off. That's what we led with. It kind of left out, well, what does Flex Pro do? And even though it can be sort of intuited from the name, from the picture, and from having a look at the homepage, we want to be very clear about what the company does, what the service does. So I just added a little bit about the job to be done, right? So we have the value proposition, cut fat and build muscle without a single moment of meal prep. That's our value proposition. Flex Pro delivers perfectly macro balanced meals to your doorstep. Take out our S here. Try us today and get 50% off your first 10 meals. That's $4.99 per meal with free next day delivery. Now I've stuck with macro balanced. That will highly depend on the research. Do the ideal buyers care more about macros, calories, carbs? That's something that we would need to consult our research for. For now, I like the way it sounds. We'll just go with that. With the asterisk that you should always write according to your data. So because I pulled this into the first line, I've removed it from our calculation line here. So I'm a lot happier with this version now that we've added a little bit of clarity around what does Flex Pro do. All right, so I see one final thing we need to fix, which is a typo that has escaped my gaze here at the top. So our optimized version with our conversion copywriting treatment is currently cut fat and build muscle without a single moment of meal prep. Flex Pro delivers perfectly macro balanced meals to your doorstep. Try us today and get 50% off your first 10 meals. That's $4.99 per meal with free next day delivery. Now let's compare the before and after. Here's what this homepage looked like when we first landed here. It reads, you need to try this today. Did you want your meals tomorrow? And we have a lead gen form. So the hero itself, especially if we are optimizing for first-time visitors who are just now hearing about Flex Pro somewhere on the web or on social media or from an influencer or even from a friend, and they're coming to this website to find out more about what Flex Pro does and how it's going to help them achieve their goals. The hero is doing very little to tap into that natural desire and then channel it into getting them to take action. So what we've done is we've added a value proposition for the service itself. We've quickly established what Flex Pro does, and we've included a call to action with a first-time buyer offer. I'll note here that I've also done the calculation for them, right? Don't make people have to calculate their own prices. Go ahead and put it right in front of their eyeballs so that no effort is needed for them to see just how affordable the service is. So it only took us about 20-ish minutes and a handful of conversion copywriting techniques to go from the original to this optimized version. Now keep in mind, this is an in the wild copy example, which means I don't know anything about the ideal buyer or the conversion context or the business's strategy. So all of the choices I've made so far have been based on my personal experience in this space. So as always, you want to make sure you do your voice of customer research and base all of your copywriting changes and any of your hypotheses for future tests on the data that you have about your ideal buyers. Guesses and assumptions and gut reactions are risky. Use your data to make more strategic choices as you optimize your copy so that you see more reliable results. If you need help optimizing your campaigns so that you see shockingly more leads, customers, and clients, let's chat. You can start a project conversation with me over at theimpactcopywriter.com.